Anyway, lovely Christine, how are you doing today?
I'm really great. Thank you, Paula. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you for asking. So exciting to be doing this with you, seeing we've known each other for so long.
Oh, I
It's
know.
awesome, and we get to
Super
share lots of
exciting.
things about Christine.
My favorite topic.
Yes. Why not? Everyone has to have a favourite topic, and if it's yourself, that's all good. Now, what we love to do with our guests is actually talk about their journey into early learning, and what got you here, and what's your passions, and move from there. So, can you tell me a little bit about yourself?
Of course. Well, excuse me. We all started back after finishing school. I went to university and did a Bachelor of Education, which was a few years ago, not too many. And from that space, I was fortunate enough to go straight overseas. All my friends were going overseas at the end of the degree, because back then, in the early 90s, it was almost near impossible to get a teaching job. um, you were on a wait list for many years to even get a permanent position or even a call from the department. So, like that of my alumni, we head on overseas, and I was fortunate enough to teach in London for 5 years in early childhood education and care. So, in the UK system, it was I taught reception class, which was similar to 4 and 5 year olds, and that was a wonderful, absolutely wonderful experience. A very, very a learning experience, a little bit different from our Australian curriculum, but nonetheless was brilliant. And
Was
also,
that a was that a private, like a private school or a public school?
no, it was a public school in a suburb in London called Hackney, which
Oh,
is at the time was very, very, and it still is a very diverse suburb. But yeah, it was fantastic. A very, very public school in Hackney.
very nice,
So
very nice.
very nice. And so I returned home to Sydney, where I called Sydney for the next 20 years, and arrived back in Sydney. And first thing I did was call the education department, because in London, you got all your jobs through an agency, and agencies weren't a thing in Australia at the time. So I moved back to Sydney and rang the education department and said, right, I'd like a job, please. And they said, and this is in all seriousness, and I wish I could have recorded the conversation. They said to me, oh, that'll take you 20 years. They said 20 years to get a permanent job. I was living in the eastern suburbs as well. So I said, well, what about, Coogee or Clovelly? And he just laughed. Yeah. So, well, anyway.
He
So,
wasn't probably far wrong, actually, was he?
no, precisely. And I've got some other interesting stats on that I can share a little bit later.
Yeah, that would be great.
Um, so just to so I was in Sydney going, what am I going to do? I'm a qualified teacher. There's not a lot of diversity back then, 20 years ago, 25 years ago, for teachers to go in other avenues. There was something I did for a short stint, and I think this is just interesting to share, because it does show you that there is a variety of different areas you can go to with the teaching and education qualification. So I worked in movies for a couple of years, yeah, which was great. So I worked on set tutoring the actors. One of the
Wow.
films, yeah, I don't think you know that. So one of the films
No,
I
I
did
didn't
was,
know that. Anyone,
um,
anyone famous now, like the Hugh Jackmans of the
uh,
world, or
well, Yali Stone, she was in Orange Is the New Black, and she's just recently moved back to Australia. So I tutored her on a film called Me, Myself, and I. But,
yes?
but interesting fact, she at the time was about 14, 15, and and she was studying. I had to help her with her English. Now, English isn't my best subject, and it was Hamlet of all things. So Shakespeare. I'm like going, oh my god, and she ended up teaching me more about it than I taught her about it. But she's a very, very smart girl. So she went to the Performing Arts
Wow,
College in Sydney.
wow! I actually remember Me, Myself, and I. That was a long time ago.
Yeah, yes, that was with oh no, I can't even remember the main actress, so that's not good. Great. It was really good fun, but also had a lifespan against it. Unless you were on the camera, no one cared about you. So, and I wasn't going to be getting a acting degree anytime quickly, or go to NIDA, and so that came to an end. And also, back in the early 2000s, the money dropped out of the late 90s. Money dropped out of the film industry, and they started going overseas because it was cheaper.
That's
anyway,
right.
so, but that's just a segue. It's at where
Yes.
your qualification can take you.
Yes. You're going
and
to
then-
chew to the movie industry, right?
Oh, precisely. Pays
Yes.
well. You get lunch every day. And you get to mingle with the
A-listers.
I was also fortunate to work on Moulin Rouge and a couple of other Babe Pig in the City. So it was good fun. Good fun.
Wow, that's great, Christine. So what a lovely thing to think that a degree can get you into.
That's right.
The options are there.
I kept ringing the Home and Away. I kept ringing the Office of Home and Away saying, is there anything coming up? And they went, nah. Hardest job to get is to be tutor on Home and Away. I could have been on there with. I could have been tutoring the Hemsworths.
Absolutely.
I think they're
even
more our age.
Yeah, who else was on that? There's so many
Katie
famous
Ritchie,
people.
yeah,
Kate Ritchie. Oh wow. Well, maybe they'll listen to the podcast, Christine, and say, "Oh, we missed out on having Christine tutor us."
Tutor us, and where they could have gone with their career today.
Where could they have gone?
So after that brought me back to what am I going to do next? And again, leaning into your qualification and what skills you have. And because that's one thing that's really, isn't expressed enough, that the skill set of a teacher is outstanding. Communication, knowledge, intelligence. There's so much of a skill set to an educator that can, go into different avenues that they want to. So after my movie gig, I was fortunate to co-found a company called Select Education, which was a recruitment company. And myself and another lady in Sydney opened a Sydney office, and that was recruiting. There was a gap in the market was identified that this service of providing educators last minute and also permanent into early childhood education and care services and USH services, to take the time and the stress out of the day of a director or of an owner or even of educators, that they can make the one phone call to get a teacher to fill in for the day. Especially also, so this is again late 90s, early 2000s. Through till 2012, that I was working with this. So this was ensuring that the educators had to be on site for compliance and regulation. So it was, it's an important thing that a service can feel comfortable to ring an agency. Back then, now this is 23 years ago, to ring a service that they're going to be provided with an educator with qualifications and all the things that go along with it in each state. So that started in Sydney, and we opened up offices. We used the best practice approach from the UK. So Select Education had, I think, close to 50 offices throughout the UK, and then we founded the offices and the business in Australia. So we started with our office in Sydney, and then opened offices, in every capital city of Australia, and as well as a couple of satellites. So we had Wollongong, Gold Coast as well, and then also throughout New Zealand. So each of the capitals in New Zealand and the Waikato area, also had an office in Hong Kong and Singapore and Malaysia. So
wow, Christine, you were dynamic.
Exactly. So that was really exciting time. Very busy. Exciting. Very busy. Back then it was the reverse of now. Now services go to agency to find staff. Back then we needed to sell the staff and the service into the sector. So at the beginning, it came up with a lot of resistance, like, oh, well, how do you know what you're doing? So overcoming that and making a truly a global network. We moved teachers between offices, between states, between countries. It was really exciting. So that business was sold in 2012. And then I had to think about what I was doing next. So my next journey of that was I now work and have done since then. I work with tech companies in the early childhood education and care sector. So a number of different companies. I've worked with one place and work alongside you guys, Kangarootime, My Care. There's a number of businesses that I assist with in that area. So your education degree can take you a long way.
It has. And actually, we've worked alongside in a few of those softwares, Christine.
We have. Yes. I've forgotten about my stuffing. Yeah.
Yeah. Childcare CRM, Chicago.
Yes. Texas, Dallas.
Texas. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. We
Sydney,
had a
Gold
great
Coast.
Gold Coast. Oh, yeah. Brisbane.
Vegas.
Sydney.
Look at us showing off now.
Oh, I know. How nice is that, though, over those years? And we're still able to laugh and I'm still learning things about you.
Yes, you are.
I am. You're fantastic. So where we've got to now, you're with Kangarootime CCS?
Yes. So I work alongside the team at Kangarootime. Kangarootime is a childcare management software with all-in-one platform that from everything from your CCS, which is recently in the sector survey, I think you're familiar with the sector, was voted one of the best CCS softwares in Australia. It's outstanding. It's great.
Fantastic.
And they do everything from enrolment and we work alongside you guys as well.
Yeah, we do. Absolutely. Work very well. We have a lot of fun. And with that, obviously, because you're in marketing for Kangarootime, which is obviously bringing resources and content and connecting like you do with One Place and making those partnerships work. You were recently part of a team, actually probably the leader of the team.
Thank you. That's right.
Joey's first day at Kanga. Can you tell us about it and how it came to fruition? Plus, I believe there's a little bit of a royal connection here, Christine.
Oh, we can't say that. Yes, there is. Okay, we might be able to say that. One thing that I find really important when working in this sector is no matter what sort of industry you're in within the sector, if you're in a service industry or the tech industry, I think it's personally really valuable to add added value to your service or to your business, to the sector. I think it's providing these additional resources allows, and it doesn't mean that it's an actual customer, one of your customers, but it allows other customers to tap in and really take advantage of resources that you have. So something that was a passion of mine from being a teacher back in the day, something that was a passion of mine was to always write a children's book, which I actually have done, but I'll tell you about that in a minute. Currently at Kangarootime, I work alongside the team with their marketing and to market the business. And something that's really important for me as well is while, you can have a lot of marketing items that go out into centres, you see everything from the stress balls to the mouse pads to coasters and drink bottles and mugs, which are great. And it's great for a brand awareness. But something that I really passionate about is being able to also provide to the families and also to the children in the services that we work with. And we were sitting in the office one day and I was making a broad statement about how I really want to be able to get this children's book off the ground. And my colleague, who you know very well, Jamie McVeigh, said, "Oh my God, Christine, I need to introduce you to Michelle Worthington." And I said, "Who's Michelle Worthington?" And she said, "She's a really good friend of mine and she's a children's book author." And I said, "This is great." So long story short, we met with Michelle and had a coffee and started talking about the vision of what we were looking for in providing a children's book via Kangarootime to give us resources and also as gifts to the sector. And so we sat down with Michelle and she said, look, what are your ideas? What are you thinking about? And we communicated that one of the biggest challenges for parents, families, guardians, and children are their very first day at out of school learning, so childcare or early childhood. And we wanted to reflect that in a book. And Joey's first day at Kanga Care came about, and it's all about our little Joey who and his mum going to childcare for the day.
Show us?
Oh, I forgot that's being recorded. There we go.
Yes, fantastic.
Isn't it great?
Beautiful. Yes,
So
it's so cool.
And Adina Tan did the illustrations, which are wonderful. And if anyone would like a free copy, please just my details will be at the end of the podcast. So just drop me a line. I'll send you a free copy.
Did you say free, Christine?
Free copy. Yep.
Free copy. Wow. Wow. That's fantastic.
We'll see how far people actually listen into the podcast.
Yeah. I was just thinking the same thing.
Yeah. Yes, it's just a great resource to calm families' anxieties and the child's anxiety of the little one going to care for the first day.
What a wonderful resource to have, especially at the centre level, where they can just have it at their front door or have it wherever they need it. They can share it with their parents. They can have it in their service. A
lot of the services have it in their family library. So, what was a real hit was over Book Week, and that was a real buzz. We got a lot of our services sending in photos of directors and educators reading Joey's first day at Kanga Care to their circle time, dressed as kangaroos, and that was a real buzz. Loved it.
That's actually very cute. So who went as the kangaroos?
The directors.
Oh, so fantastic.
So when you dress up for Book Week, yeah.
Oh, what a cool idea. Now, I know that's like such a wonderful thing, your book, and how personal and how that can make a big impact to so many just by doing that one thing. What other content or resources do you enjoy working on? And what are the outcomes that you've enjoyed or seen from that?
I think, firstly, I think that's a really great question. I think seeing and enjoying the outcomes, one outcome I've got to say that I am enjoying from Joey's first day at Kanga Care is I'll get messages directly. Had one recently saying that their child didn't want to go to school, didn't want to go to care that day. And they said, I pulled out my book. I pulled out the book and reread it. And they went, yeah, okay, it's all right. I can get up and go again. So seeing those sort of outcomes are brilliant. Really love working on collaborations. We've done a brilliant collaboration with One Place, the white paper that we delivered about 3 or 4 months ago with regards to the playbook, the teaching playbook. I think a lot of fantastic feedback from there. I think one of the best things in this is that services know that they're not on their own. So in this staffing shortage, so the playbook for the playbook that we produced together was the finding staff and educators and retaining educators for your service. And while there's no fast solution, it is allowing all of our centres know that they're in the same space, that they can rest assured that they're not on their own. And I think that's important. I've had a number of people reach out after that and say, thank you for that. And even little tips and tricks that have come through that where people have gone, I've never thought about providing lunch on a Friday to help retain and help our services.
Yeah, and that's an amazing thing. And sometimes it's just that stepping out, isn't it? Just reading, they're so busy and so focused on what they're doing to stop and actually think. But when where they read something and it's pointed out, maybe try this. It's an easy answer and a simple thing. A lunch on a Friday, How wonderful is that?
cost effective, brings morale together, all those sorts of things.
It does. It
Um,
does.
the other thing that I think we really enjoy doing as well is our webinar series. Webinars are another way and another way to learn. While you can have your blogs and your white paper, that's very much set for people who will read and sit down, but also having the other dynamics around listening, and especially this, people can drive to work listening to us.
Absolutely. That's right, yeah. They can listen to you and I banter on about all these places we've been and what you've done. But, all it takes is, maybe one person listening to your story, Christine, that inspires them to, to do that next thing, to pick up your book, to comfort a child, to think about what they're reading or listening to. How can we support them? So, no, it is, that's what it's about. We're all here doing what we can to support our people in those services.
Yeah, 100%, 100%.
That's fantastic. Now, my if someone was to take inspiration from our episode today, what would you recommend? What would you say to them?
I think probably a couple of things on that point. And it's, again, another great question. I think coming from a teaching background, doing an education degree, I think allowing people to see that there's a variety of paths you can go down. All of our paths are dirt until they become concreted. So while there's the teaching path, which is a fantastic career to go down, but there's also another variety of other avenues you can take as well. Even if you're looking at having a break, I've spoken to a number of educators recently who are taking a year off, and in that time they're looking at other opportunities within the industry. Now within the sector. Now we've got a number of different areas that we can go into, which is like working in software or working in service driven companies within the sector are great. And as I said before, the skill set that teachers have are second to none, and can go across a number of industries. Secondly, I would say, so writing or collaborating on a children's book was something that I'd wanted to do for years, and has come up this year. So this year was our collaboration, and then next year I've got my own series coming out. So
Ooh,
yeah,
this is the first time anyone's heard about it.
Yes, it is. This is an exclusive.
So we're doing an exclusive with Christine Curphey.
An exclusive, that's right. So next year I'll be rolling out a series with the first book, Turtle Dam. So that's something to look forward to. Oh, I'm super excited about it.
What's it going to be called? Turtle?
It's called Turtle Dam.
Oh, very nice.
And then I'm anticipating that I'll also add on additional resources to that book that can be used throughout the 0 to 5 age group, probably up to 0 to 8.
Yeah. Is there any more plans to get Kanga through his days at early learning?
Absolutely.
Oh,
absolutely.
Fantastic. So you're going to be busy.
So yes, we've Joey's first day at Childcare. Now we want to start looking at other adventures of Joey can have. So everything from bush learning and day at the beach, day at the seaside, and start introducing some other characters into the book as well.
Oh, look, that sounds so wonderful. Now, I really loved what you just said before about our path is dirt until it's concrete.
Yeah.
I've not heard that before. That's fantastic. I'm going to save that for my last question. You may have others, but we'll go from here. Okay. What we really love to know from our guests is, looking forward, what are the big challenges facing the sector over the next sort of 2 to 5 years from your perspective?
I think, again, I think it's something that we all have seen post-COVID or during COVID, is first of all, the mass exit of educators throughout that time, and now the shortage. Interesting enough, now I mentioned this earlier on, that I'd come back to this stat. So when I used to meet regularly in Sydney with the Department of Education 20 years ago with regards to assisting them with placing teachers. And a number of the employees there would say, in 20 years' time, we will have a teaching shortage. And they said, because at that time there will be a lot of people, they said, we're not putting as many people through education anymore, Bachelor of Education. And also in that time will be a whole lot of teachers who will be retiring. So that hit us to about 2020. And the teacher shortage really was starting to come on strong there. But we're also fortunate enough to have enough of our travellers being able to fill some of our positions. So our overseas travellers coming in. But then COVID hit and we stopped having the travellers, and we've also saw the mass exited. So they're really, really recovering from that. And I know there's a lot of people working in that area to come up with a variety of solutions to really assist everyone in that space. But it's costing a lot of money.
Yes.
And if someone can come up with there's all talks of different strategies to have moving forward. But another 3 to 5 years, still looking at that shortage.
Yeah, and it's not as if we can have a baby boom and resolve that in the next 3 to 5 years either.
No,
right? We actually need to sort of grow people at the age of 18.
Oh, precisely, because you're getting a number of graduates coming through and then going, I don't want to do this. As well, because they get disillusioned by it. They're going into services that are understaffed and staff is stressed. So they finish, they're all excited, but within the first 3 months, they're going, "Oh, this isn't what I signed up for."
Yeah, and that's what we've got to change, right? We've got to, as a sector, change that proposition of going in and going, oh wow, I can't cope, to helping those services who are in that position to think differently.
100%. Yeah, you're spot on, Paula.
That's what
I feel for. I feel for the educators and directors and owners, because it's hard. Even back when I was a relief teacher many years ago, that was stressful then, and you had everything sort of set up for you. But challenging, very challenging times.
It is challenging. And also, I mean, you were talking about Kangarootime, CCS, having really robust systems in place as well can reduce that educator stress.
Yes.
There's so many little things.
Absolutely. So having software in place of things, having I know that some services still use paper, and again, I had an educator recently say, "Oh my God, it takes up so much of my time. I just want to be able to tick a box, rather than having to fill in everything."
Yeah, and quite often when they're doing, say, an incident form or something like that, they've actually got to leave the room to hand it to someone, right? So that ratio changes. So having, a robust system where you can do that without leaving a room but have that digitally sent, there's so many little things that can support owners, and the flow on is your educators, right?
And take the pressure off, correct.
Take the pressure off. Yes, and that's what we're here to do. That's what we're trying to do. Together, we're trying to do that and support our wonderful educators.
Exactly.
Hey, now listen, before we finish up, this is following on from that lovely little motto you had about the path is dirt till it's concrete.
Oh, yes.
We asked people for their motivational quote or their personal motto. Do you have one that you'd like to share with us? Actually, Kristen, I can imagine you have so many that you'd like to share with us.
Thank you, Paula.
That's all right. You're very, very, motivational.
I think something that recently I'm actually quite passionate about is it's very simple. It's be kind. You don't know what's going on in other people's lives. People are unsure of and by communicating or I've lost my train of thought now. Is just ensure to be kind, and that can make someone's day.
Absolutely, I hear your motto. I love that motto. That's something I do myself. Like, that's actually my thing. Is just think, isn't it? Just think. Really, be kind, because by being kind doesn't mean you're doing everything for that person. It just means you're actually giving a nice gesture.
And that's, I know a lot of people, sort of the buzz, how buzzwords and practices come in, and a lot of people talk about practicing gratitude for their own self being. But rather than waking up and saying, what am I grateful for? You can wake up and say, what am I going to do today that's going to show kindness? Whether
Now
it's an
that,
interaction, yep, there you
yeah,
go. Whether it's an interaction with someone that you're going to have at the coffee shop or at
yeah.
work or even with your own family
Or even the
or
poor
pets.
person who's checking, the checkout person at Woolies and Coles
Absolutely.
who,
So
who must deal with so many people.
thinking about your day ahead and thinking, how can I be kind?
Yeah. And that actually, what that does when you're saying, what can I be grateful for, is more about us, right? But when you're saying, how can I show kindness, it's actually putting that out there to our society, whoever
Mm.
it is, whether it's our educators, whether it's our people in the street, like you said. So, look, I actually think that's a fabulous motto to end our lovely chat on. And thank you to the wonderful Christine Curphey for sharing her time today and talking about her passion herself, and that beautiful book, and the book
It's
series
a
that's going to come out, and that
it's
it's
available on
free.
all it's
So
available on all good bookstores as well.
yes, and
Paula
we'll
will
put
drop my details in if you're wanting a free copy. Uh,
absolutely. Let's get those details in. You can reach out to Christine through our website and from the podcast. And thank you so much, Christine, for your time. And
oh, it's a pleasure.
oh,
Thank you.
and be kind.
That's yes, you always are.
Thank you.